In this video, we're going to take a look at vertex form for quadratics. So in its complete form, vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. However, you've actually learned all the skills you need to do this. It's just a matter of combining what we've already learned about graphing simple parabolas, like y equals x squared minus 3 or y equals x squared plus 5. We're going to combine that concept with using point slope form to graph lines. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to just cover when the a value is equal to 1. In the future videos, we'll take a look at what happens when the a value changes. Let's go ahead and quickly revisit the parabolas that we've already graphed. So we started with y equals x squared in the middle there in green. And then we learned that if you just add a plus 6 to it, it just shifts the parabola up 6 spaces. If instead we went x squared minus 7, it would go down 7 spaces. Now the key here is we're going to continue to graph the same type of parabola you see here, the same shape. And you have to be able to remember that from the vertex of all these, we go over 1, up 1 squared. And if we go over 2, we're going up 2 squared. And if I wanted to make these bigger, I'd go over 3, up 3 squared. So we're going to continue with that shape. That means the a value is 1. By the way, this does follow the form y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, as long as you realize a is 1 and h is 0. If you combine what you know about graphing parabolas with what you learned with graphing lines with point slope form, you will then know everything you need to know about graphing parabolas when the a value is 1. So if we take a look at this example of our line, if I just change this to squared, get rid of this 2/3, just pretend that's not even there, the a value is 1, this would now turn into a parabola. And we would have our h and our k value, just like we used 5, 1 as our starting point for the line. So now if I go to 5, 1 and I do my pattern from that vertex over 1 up 1 squared, back to the vertex each time, over 2 up 2 squared on both sides, and I could do over 3 up 3 squared, but I'll leave that to you guys. So that would become our parabola. If I go ahead and do the same thing, let's do a different color here. If I do the same thing with my orange line here, if I go ahead and get rid of this 4, it's gone, make this squared, I would still be using the same exact starting point of -3, -2. And from that point, I would go over 1, up 1, both sides, back to the vertex, over 2, up 2 squared, and okay, we'll go ahead and do 3 this time. Over 3, up 3 squared, just because I don't like to count to 9, that's all. And this would become a parabola, and you can see that we're using our same pattern of over 1, up 1 squared, over 2, up 2 squared, and we're just combining with the form we learned with point slope line of graphing lines. So you put those two together, you now know how to graph parabolas when the a value is 1 from vertex form. We are ready to jump right in and graph some parabolas. So first problem, it's called vertex form because we're going to start with the vertex. So to get our vertex, first we look inside the parentheses where the x is. And remember, we don't actually use -4, we use the opposite of -4. So we're going to use +4. You might remember how we use a hand signal for this. In our point slope video, we have opposite. All right, so this will be opposite of -4 is 4. And then the k value is just the y value of the vertex is whatever you see on the outside. You don't change that sign, just the inside. So we go to that point, or 2. That's our vertex. And now we just use our pattern. From the vertex, we go over 1, up 1 squared, back to the vertex, do the other side, always go back to the vertex. From the vertex, we go over 2, up 2 squared, which is 4. And then we could do the over 3, up 3 squared on all these, but that's good enough right there. Then you connect it with your parabola, and you are graphing parabolas without making tables. You're going straight to your graph. All right, how about that last one? Use your opposite to find the x value of your vertex, write down the y value of your vertex, and then you can graph it. Let's take a look. So opposite of +5, -5. And then we have a -7. That's my vertex, so I go there. And then from there, I follow my pattern. Over 1, up 1 squared, back to the vertex, over 2, up 2 squared. And there you go. There's your parabola. So that concludes our video on how to use vertex form to graph parabolas that have an a value of 1. So use your newfound knowledge and go out into the math world and graph some parabolas. Because let's face it, they look way more exciting than lines.
Opposite. Don't change this. Opposite. Don't change this.